Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Domain names made simple. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody to Tech News Weekly. I am Andrew Zarian. I am all Windows 8 out. I've been playing around with Windows 8 for about 2 days now, and I have a lot to say because that is the big story of the day. But before we get into stories, I want to introduce my co-host today, Eric Lanigan.
Hey, Andrew.
The Eric Lanigan from ericlanigan.com. That's how we're introducing you from now on. The Eric
Sounds
Lanigan.
good.
There's no other Eric Lanigan, just the. And it's Eric with a K, not a C.
That's right.
People should know that. Also joining me is Suncast, as he does normally every week. Last week you weren't here.
No, I wasn't here. Well, you had Paul on last week.
Yes, and that's part of Paul's contract that you and him cannot be in the same room together because of that vicious bar fight you guys got into months ago.
Oh, is that it? He doesn't want to be in the same show as me?
That's it. That's exactly what it is. No,
Those
last
big
week, Paul,
stars, I'm telling you, they're going to ruin this network.
Yeah, it's all the egos on the network. No, Paul missed What the Tech, and there was a lot of Windows 8 news out, and we did the show on Friday instead of Tuesday, so it was a little messed up the schedule, but we're back on track. And I have to tell you, we've been talking a lot about Windows 8 the last couple days, and we are going to continue talking about Windows 8 because the consumer preview was just released this week.
November 29th.
The 29th we got it, which is on a leap year, and that to everybody means that it never happened. It's a imaginary day, and Windows 8 has not come out yet.
I wish.
I'm yeah, you wish Windows 8 didn't come out yet because you're not a big fan of it. Eric, you have not experienced it yet, but hopefully you will have a chance to play around with it. You are a Mac guy, right?
Yes.
Not exclusively a Mac guy, but you use a Mac. You feel comfortable with a Mac.
Yeah, that's right. All my Macs are dual boot. They both have Windows 7 installed. Have not taken the plunge on 8 though yet because I have a feeling that most of the benefits are going to happen with the Metro Touch interface, and of course we can't really use that yet. Not the way it's intended to be used, at least.
So I guess I've been using it on. I've been on the laptop, and Suncast has been using it on an actual desktop. So we have two different types of
We definitely have
experiences.
some difference of opinions here.
Okay, so here's my opinion. Metro, I totally get what they've done with Metro, and I don't hate it. I don't hate Metro. I don't think it's this. People are saying, well, it's so dumbed down, it's so simple. No, I don't think so. I think it's a very interesting interface. It's a beautiful interface. I see what they're doing. It's not for you. If it's not for you and you are that power user, you could use the desktop mode like everybody else. That's what you're going to be using. And most people are going to be in desktop mode. The biggest complaint that everybody has about Windows 8 currently is the fact that the start menu is gone. Where is the start menu? It's gone. It totally disappeared. But
the Metro user interface is the start menu.
Yes, yes and no. Yes and no. It is and it's not.
For the most part,
screen,
it is
right?
because that's when you press the Windows key on a keyboard, that's what comes up.
Yeah, so that's what they replaced it with. But what Microsoft has not really said a lot about is that there are a lot of shortcuts now that make things a lot easier. If you go to winsupersite.com, Paul has a list of them, and I just spent an hour with him talking before the show to kind of get an idea of what he thinks and what I'm kind of missing. And I discuss a lot of the things I don't like, and he had an explanation on why they did it and why they didn't do it. So some of the stuff that we have to get used to are these Windows key and letter functions. So like you could do Windows
listen,
I.
Let me put a disclaimer
ahead.
out there. I'm going to be brutally honest about my opinions here. With
You don't
Windows
like
8, and I don't. There's not really anything I really like about Windows 8. So you're fine if you don't agree with me. I don't care if you don't agree with me. I'm just going to give my honest opinion about it so far.
Okay, so what you give yours and I'll give mine.
It's hard to say because there's.
And
I'll be honest,
actually, if I may butt in here quickly as the
Sure.
person who has not installed this beta yet, what I'm curious about is, since you can't use it on a tablet or the way it's intended to be used quite yet with the swiping and the multi-touch, what is the benefit to a keyboard and mouse user if you don't like Metro? If the only consolation about Windows 8 is, well, you can avoid Metro and you can use the desktop interface, then
Yes.
what benefit is there to upgrading?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. There.
And then here's the other problem with what people are saying. Oh, well, there's desktop there for you. No, not really. It's a dumbed down kind of version, half-assed, if you will, version of desktop. It's not the desktop that you're used to. So yes, even though they include the desktop and people are saying, oh, well, if you don't like the commercial stuff, you can just use the desktop. It's not the same. It's not the same desktop as you have in prior versions of Windows. It doesn't have the start orb. It doesn't have the start menu. And you're still forced to use the Metro user interface, even if you are using the desktop.
Yeah, I mean, but here look, to play devil's advocate, I mean, things like this will happen in the future, and this is what has plagued Microsoft for many, many years. They stick to the same standard for many years. I mean, Windows has not evolved as far as the aesthetically tremendously since Windows 95. It's the same looking Windows that it's been for the last, X amount of years. It's many, many years that this operating system has looked like this and felt like this, and key components have been put in place.
Is that because it works well that way?
No, it's because of legacy.
Or is it because times are changing and there's more mobile devices out there now, so they're trying to do an operating system that's intended more for mobile devices, Eric said.
I think when there's such a radical change like this, there's always going to be many people, and it's not really the majority because we don't know what the majority thinks yet. We are just a small percentage of people who have used this, and we're mostly the power user that's going to be upset if there's any radical change. But look at what Apple did with OS 9 to OS 10. That was a radical change, and people were screaming about it because it was a totally different change. I mean, I wasn't a Mac user at that time, but I know from what I've seen and when I've used OS 9 and the small times
I don't think
that
it was
had.
as radical as what Microsoft is doing with Windows 8, though.
Okay, so Eric, do you think this is as radical as of a change from OS 9 to OS 10?
That's an interesting question because I would say one of the biggest changes about OS 9 to OS 10 was the Unix operating system. The fact that was so much more advanced than the very stagnant and obsolete Mac OS 9 code, and then the way the operating system worked as it was, in addition to the user interface that sat on top of that. So from that perspective, I don't think Windows 8 is that much of a kernel change or a core change compared to 7.
No, as far as that, it's not. But you are still able to use this. Before you weren't. I mean, it was a total different change. It was nothing.
What do you mean? Able to use what?
When you went, or another example is when they went from the PowerPC to the Intel chipset. That was a radical change. That was something that some people were happy with it, some people were not. It's when there is a change like this, you are always going to have a difficult time for many people to adjust. And this is the thing. We are enthusiasts. We are fans of the product.
But
we don't want a big change.
If we're enthusiasts, shouldn't it be easier for the enthusiasts to pick up on these things? And I'm just not getting that. I'm an expert when it comes to Windows, and even I'm struggling with learning how Windows 8 is working and how it's supposed to be.
But let me ask you, are you struggling because it's not convenient and it doesn't make sense, or are you struggling because you are so used to doing things a certain way?
It's a little bit of both. I'll give you an example. The hotspots, the hot corners that they have in Windows 8, doesn't work for me whatsoever. I don't think it's a good idea whatsoever for desktops because the way they've implemented it is that they have corners on the screen, and it's such a small portion of the screen that it's extremely difficult to maneuver your mouse and get it in that exact position. Because basically what it is it's basically 4 pixels on the screen that you have to maneuver your mouse to, and that's it. And
to do what?
It's basically the size of 4 pixels on the screen.
No, what is? That's what I missed.
The hotspots.
The hotspot.
To do what though? I don't understand.
to bring up portions of the interface to maneuver around it and bring up menus.
The Metro stuff. So this is how to invoke the Metro UI, the start screen, using the keyboard or using the mouse. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's not only for the Metro UI. Like if you
It's
if
also
you
in
take
the
your
desktop.
mouse, if you put your mouse in the desktop and you put it to the upper right-hand corner, what are they calling that, Suncast? The thing
The
that pops
Charms bar?
up. Yeah, there's a Charms bar, and the Charms bar consists of search, share, start, device, and settings.
But you also have the previous window. If you go to the top left, I believe there's also a hot button there as well.
Yeah, so
Part of it though is that when you're using this in a a multi-monitor setup, and you have such a small target area, it's extremely difficult to use. I have multiple monitors here, and so to maneuver your mouse to those exact 4 pixels and not move your mouse away from that to activate the secret menu that comes up there, it's extremely difficult.
yes, that is difficult, but they're also saying that there are shortcuts, there's short keys that you could use to go to those exact settings. You don't necessarily have to use the mouse.
Sure, but they don't tell you that when you start the operating system.
No,
you
they
actually
don't.
have
You
to
have to
seek
find
this
it out.
stuff out.
Yeah, because
You
it's
know,
a consumer
and it's the same thing where it's like there's been multiple articles that I've seen now on blogs about how do you shut this down? Because the way that they changed the way that you shut this down.
Here,
It's
I'll
not
tell
in
you-
the same
I'll tell you
area.
how you shut it down. You hit Windows I, and then you click on the power button. That is how you shut down.
How do you do it if you're using a mouse though?
Well, if you use a mouse, you got to
Because
go to.
most people don't use shortcuts.
But people are gonna have to learn. I mean, that's
You
that's
pull
the
the
exact
cord
thing.
out of the wall.
Yeah, you just press the power button and you shut everything down. What are you talking about, son? That's a simple process.
that's the thing is, it's sadly it's easier to push the power button than it is to actually maneuver your way around, navigate to where Microsoft has the new shutdown options.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of disappointing. It's why do you have to have articles about how to shut down a computer?
Yeah, I
Shouldn't
know a
that
lot of
be
people are upset
pretty
at that.
obvious.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are. Oh, that was me. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be a thing that we're going to be talking about for a long time. And personally, I don't hate it. I see what they're trying to do. One thing that I am fearing is that this version of Windows relies heavily on your mouse and your trackpad. And many
I don't think it
laptops.
does.
You don't think so? What do you mean?
I don't think the mouse is even relevant with Windows 8. be
So
honest.
what's relevant then?
I have here's the thing is, to me, it feels like a tablet operating system, a mobile operating system that you're putting on a desktop. It's like taking Android and using it on your desktop. It just doesn't necessarily make sense. They've optimized this for touch-enabled devices, and those optimizations that they've done, I don't think translate very well over to the traditional desktop.
Yes, and that's the thing that people aren't liking. But let me give you the example. The mouse is an important key now when you're navigating because the mouse pretty much takes over for your finger because, as you said, this looks like a touch UI. A lot of these manufacturers
But if you go back to what I said, though,
No,
is
but let
the
me finish
things
this
that they're
one.
doing, it just doesn't work with a mouse and multi-monitor setup. The
yes.
areas that they have for bringing up these menus and dialogues are so small and very difficult to
Well, we
target.
spent a lot of time talking about those 4
Yeah.
corner pixels. Is that really the big? Is
that's-
that
well,
really
that's
the,
it-
the
that's
reason not
his-
to buy? Is that the deal breaker here? Those corners.
Well, that's his gripe with
Partially,
it.
yes, it
That's
is.
your gripe.
To
but
me,
but
it
this
is.
is what I'm saying. Then we can move on with this. The reason why a lot of people's experience has not been so great with Windows is the fact that they got to use the mouse and they got to scroll everything as if it's their finger.
right.
And a lot of the hardware that people are using currently is older hardware. They're not using it on 5-point touch, multi-touch keypads like the Mac. I believe the Mac OS, the
Most
MacBook
desktops
Pros,
don't have that stuff, though.
but new hardware will. And that is the thing that I think will change this, is the way that new hardware, the way that this is going to run on new hardware is going to be totally different than the dual-core 1.6 gigahertz processor laptop that we are running it on currently. Most people are running it on stuff like this. Also, a lot of the drivers for these touchpads have not been optimized for Windows 8. When the drivers are at the level and the hardware is at the level of the operating system, that is a fair comparison to make. That is a fair time to say, you know what, this is still not working out for me. On the Mac, I am very used to doing two-finger scrolling and the gesturing on the Mac. You cannot do that on the computer that I'm on right now. So the experience that I have currently with Windows 8 is not the full experience that I will have when I'm on a higher-end computer. I think that is going to come into play when people are buying these laptops. Your experience is going to be different depending on your touchpad on this device. So then what
you're saying is that Windows 8 is irrelevant for anybody that uses a desktop.
No, it's not. I guess, currently, yes, because even like the back functions don't work on the mouse for the desktop.
Then why release a consumer preview?
Because it's a beta. Welcome to beta.
Most people have desktops.
Well, most people aren't installing it. That's the thing. Most people are not installing this.
But they call it a consumer preview.
Consumer preview for the enthusiast and the person who wants to take the risk. You got to remember, when Windows XP used to come out, nobody was installing the beta. It was awful. The beta was awful.
Consumer just as opposed to developer preview.
Though. Yeah, this is just a marketing thing for people to kind of get into it. But, we're going to have this argument for a while, and it's good, and it's different sides of it. I don't hate it. Again, I don't love everything about it. But
that's the best review Microsoft can hope for.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
I really don't hate the operating system.
I can't disagree with you more about this.
But see, you're one of those people, though. You're one of those people that doesn't like change when it comes to these things.
No, I don't. But look, I've tried to keep an open mind with this. I really have, because I know that we do this show and that people listen to it, and I try to keep an open mind. But it's such a struggle to use this operating system on a desktop.
Just those damn corner pixels.
Damn corner pixels.
It is.
God
that is part of it.
You know what? I'm going to write a letter to them. And I'm going to say, Suncast.
If they made it bigger, it would be better.
Suncast is not a fan of the corner pixels.
It's like they don't, this entire operating system doesn't take into account that people have multi-monitor setups.
Yeah, see, but again, it's not optimized
You try to move
yet.
it into the freaking corner, and your mouse goes over to the other screen. And so
tomorrow, Suncast will be starting the occupied corner pixels movement.
He's gonna. All right, let's move on to another story. You know what, though? But you have a point, because you are using a multi-monitor setup. So if it's not working for you, there's a problem. And guess what? It's a beta. This is what they need. They need people like you to send them an email and tell them.
Well, let me ask both you and Eric. Do you think that a lot of these things, that it is a beta, but by the time they have the release candidate out, is things going to be more smoothed over? It's going to be more polished. It's going to be ready for the mainstream.
By the way, there is another public beta coming out in the summer, early summer.
Right.
Will that be the one for ARM? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know much about it.
By the way, I think that's what they needed to come out with first. I think this desktop one, as we're seeing, it provides arguably the only benefits it provides the desktop users are debatable. So the real future, the real thing that Windows 8 is supposed to accomplish is that touch interface. And as long as we don't have that yet, I think that should have been the first one they came out with.
Yeah. I couldn't see. I told Andrew the same thing the other day when we were starting this out. It was like, to me, it would have made much more sense if they actually came out with Windows 8 tablets first. People could learn how the new Windows 8 works, and then come out with Windows 8 for desktop and laptops a few months later.
Yes, but
then people would actually have an understanding about what this new operating system is, how it's supposed to function.
I guess. I don't know. I give up. I don't know. What do you want me to say? You hate it. I don't mind. I don't hate it or like it. I'm 50-50 right now. But I understand your frustrations, because I have the same thing too. But a lot of my issues are that as I've been using,
way more patience than I do.
I do. I have a lot more patience because I understand how certain things work, and I could appreciate how certain things are functioning. I'm used to thinking for other people when it comes to using these operating systems. But one problem that I personally have, and that's why I'm not really I'm not criticizing it as much, is because I'm on a Mac most of the time now. I'm on a Mac, and the way that gesturing and the mouse and the trackpad is on the Mac, the Mac has a far better trackpad than 90% of these laptops being put out there currently. So I'm kind of on a different level when it comes to going from the Mac Pro to a $200 laptop that I'm using Windows 8 with. I don't think that's a fair comparison, so I'm going to be it's going to be difficult for me to kind of adjust. But we'll move on to another story. We're gonna move on to something that Eric knows a little bit about. As I close the notes and I'm trying to find the notes,
perhaps
Putting all
too
my
much
bad
about.
juju on you.
or a little too much about actually.
Too much for his own good.
And that's 4 pixel corners. Eric, you want to talk more about
No,
4 corners?
no.
No, I do want to talk about these data caps that have been going on and data throttling that's been going on. There's a couple stories here. So, who do you want to go with first?
How about AT&T?
Okay, let's go with AT&T then.
Considering it as the higher one up on the document.
Yeah. Let's just go in order. That makes the most sense actually. So they've been throttling for data for unlimited users, and a lot of people are starting to talk about this. It's becoming a big problem.
Yeah, that's right. I think last time I was on here, I think we talked about how they were throttling the unlimited plan down to 1.5 gigabytes. So throttling the unlimited plan to half of the limited plan, which is 3 gigabytes. And now they've said after a guy took him to small claims court because you can't sue him as a class action anymore. AT&T won that in the Supreme Court middle of last year.
Yeah.
So all you can do is sue them as an individual in a small claims court, not even before a jury. And at best, this guy won $850, which I think was just the duration of his contract because he successfully proved that unlimited was in fact very limited. As a result, now AT&T says, well, we're going to throw you a bone. Unlimited now means 3 gigabytes. When you signed up, it meant 5. When we initiated the 2 gigabyte plan, we promised unlimited would always be unlimited for grandfathered in, but yet now it means 3 gigabytes. So your thoughts?
This is something that we've spoken about a lot, and now with 4G, with LTE, we're going to start seeing these data walls hit far earlier than we did with 3G. More and more people are using these phones for higher broadband needs. I mean, you could watch Hulu now, you can watch YouTube, and it's a lot easier to watch these things on a 4G device than a 3G device. And they're gonna have to push it. I think this small court battle where this guy won the $850, it's actually very important because it shows fault on AT&T's side.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're appealing it, right, at this point?
Yes.
I think AT&T is going to appeal it, and we'll see what happens. But for AT&T to lose something like this, that's a victory on the consumer side, because now you know that there is there's a problem. There's a
That's
disconnect
right,
with
and just think about the morality of that. You got now AT&T, trying to get their $850 back from this guy in the small claims court, just so that can't invite future lawsuits. But again, unlimited is nowhere near unlimited. And the reason that they can do this is we have, as we've said, no competition in these markets, even for wireless. And now I think the most dangerous thing AT&T is saying, this could change everything for everybody on the internet. This is very scary. They want to take that price that they've made, which is inflated, the cost of the bandwidth per gigabyte for wireless usage is way higher than it should be, way higher than a lot of the rest of the world is paying for.
What's the pricing right now? What's the AT&T pricing for? I think right now for 4G, I'm paying like $60. And this is the thing I don't understand. We were talking about those bundles. Then they say sign up for 4G and get double the whatever.
It's about $10 per gigabyte.
Is that what they? No. But you know what I mean? Like they say, like, okay, sign up now, $39.99. You get double the whatever.
What Verizon does, Verizon charges $30 for 2 gigabytes. They offer promotions where, if you sign up and you're a new customer, you can get double that for the same price.
I signed up for the 5 gig package for 4G for, $60, and they said, well, it's a double the package. So now you have 10 gigs. And when I called them, they're like, no, you don't have 10 gigs. It's 5 gigs. We never even offered that.
Right. So because we have no competition, not only do we have completely stagnant growth and ever increasing prices, but they don't even feel a need to uphold the things that they promise, such as unlimited does not mean 1.5, a limit of 1.5. Unlimited does not mean a very small limit. But the thing that they've announced this week that I think is the most dangerous and threatening to the whole internet and the app economy, everything, they want to start now having what they call 1-800 numbers for web services for mobile devices.
Wait a minute. So what do you mean 1-800 numbers for web services?
That's how they classified it. They want to have the service side, Netflix, Skype, Hulu, whoever that service is, pay the bandwidth. So now they're going to select the biggest of the big media companies who can afford to subsidize your bandwidth for free. That's where you'll get your content. And every new startup who can say, well, we're giving you a free service, we're giving you YouTube for free or whatever the new free one is, that's going to amount to a tax on the free service because you're going to be paying a lot of money versus $0 for the ones that can afford to subsidize it. And of course, it's totally unfair because the cost that they're paying is unfairly high to begin with.
Yeah, see, this is going to be very interesting if they actually do this. And what does this mean? I mean, if they start charging, let's say, something like Pandora for the bandwidth that the user uses, these apps are no longer going to be free.
Right.
You're not going to have free apps. What you're going to start seeing is these you're going to start seeing services like Pandora and well, some of them are a subscription, but Pandora, let's say, for example, they're going to end up having to charge everybody a monthly fee to use their service because now they have to pay AT&T for the bandwidth. And now what happens to people that are, in the upper 1% user for Pandora? Are they going to charge you more? They're just this weird idea where
it'll be great because AT&T can charge both users and developers.
Yeah, well, that's what they're going to do. You're going to have to pay that money anyway somewhere. That's going to be a big problem.
So now not only do you have to pay a data plan for yourself, but then you also have to help pay the data plan that AT&T is now going to charge for developers.
The other side of this argument,
you have to pay
guys,
for 2 data plans.
The other side of this argument was, and I got an email. We spoke about it a little bit this on Wednesday, and I got an email from a viewer, and he brought up something interesting. He goes, well, I actually on the show said, well, what if they struck a deal with, let's say, like a Pandora, where they said, okay, you know what, Pandora? You will become a official app of AT&T. So when it's the AT&T logo goes on the bottom, we won't charge you for the caps.
They
won't
kind
charge
of do that
you.
now. If you recall, Sprint has a lot of NASCAR related content, and they actually, I believe, have a NASCAR package where you can pay, $15 and you can actually get their NASCAR package and all their NASCAR content and videos you can get on their Sprint phones.
Yeah,
but you're still having to pay, money for that data usage.
I don't know if we're gonna necessarily have to pay extra to use Pandora, but I think what they could potentially do is say, okay, this is a sponsored app. It's an AT&T ad on the bottom, whatever it is, and they end up not paying AT&T. But this is the equivalent, and this is what this guy said: is let's say the electric company did this. Let's say we have Con Edison here in New York. Let's say Con Edison said, you know what? If you buy a Kenmore refrigerator, we're not going to charge you electricity for that. And if you buy a Sony TV, we're not going to charge you electricity for that Sony TV's use. It kills competition in a way because what's going to happen to the app developers that end up having they're not part of the sweetheart deal.
Yeah, I think it's unfair to the smaller developers. I do have one friend that's a developer, and I showed him this article, and he was like, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard of.
Yes. I thought you were going to add more to that.
Well said.
I thought there was more to that.
Succinct response from your developer friend.
Yeah. I thought that actually he was like, it sucks because, but I guess there isn't.
Well,
no, but
it is because I don't think smaller developers, I mean, like if GFQ were to put out an application, a video application with all of our stuff on it,
would we have to pay?
We don't have the profits right now to be able to subsidize the data usage for everybody to be able to use this application.
Well, how about this?
That's unfair to us, isn't it?
How about this, though? Let's put this out there. LG put out a phone a couple of months ago, and it was the official Netflix phone. Do you guys remember that? It was for Verizon. Verizon had the official Netflix LG phone. What if they started doing this weird thing where they said, well, if you buy this phone and Netflix is free for this phone. So it's not part of your data. You could watch Netflix, and it's not going to take over your data caps if you buy this phone. That's another weird thing they could potentially do with this. They could package certain phones.
Sounds like such a gimmick to me, though, a novelty kind of thing.
Well, guess what? This is that tiered service that they've been dying to do. They've been dying to do tiered services for years. Do you guys remember that? I think it was all over like the web. It was like this weird package thing that they had for the ISP. So they were saying, if you want the media package, it's an extra $5. If you want the audio package, it's another $5. This is a weird way around that.
Right. This is what the net neutrality advocates were afraid of. This is just a reframing of that original net neutrality argument. that when we have no competition, then they can choke off the supply of websites and web services and offer them like traditionally they've offered cable packages, where you get 10 channels for this price, 50 channels for this price, 100 channels for this price, and it goes up like that. That's effectively what they're doing by saying that on this tier, you get these number of services free, and as you go up and up or pay more, you get these for free, and everything else on the open web you have to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what they're doing. On the other side, Time Warner's once again looking into throttling and capping.
At 5 gigabytes for home broadband, for your cable modem in your house, 5
Are you just as
gigabyte
outraged
cap.
about this as I am? It just sounds like such a ridiculous story that, all right, so a home broadband connection, even if you're limiting that to 4 megabytes per second down, and you're only limiting to it 5 gigabytes, that's just like, it's not a mobile phone. You're not a carrier.
Yeah, they're saying for $5 of a discount you could get this. Now, a couple of years ago, this story came out that they were capping, they were throttling, and at one point, if you had Time Warner like a triple play, they shut off your TV. And I spoke about this, and I was called a liar by some viewer. I remember that. He sent me an email. He goes, "They've never capped. I've been using them. I download torrents all the time." And I'll give you a perfect example. One of my buddies that was on the network at that time was downloading a bunch of torrents from the UK. He was watching Top Gear. And he would constantly download these torrents, download them. He came home from work one day. He turned on his TV, and it said, "Please call Time Warner Cable." They shut his TV service off. They shut his phone service off and his internet until he called, and they told him, you're downloading too much.
Wow.
And they sent him a letter.
There are companies that have what are called, I believe, soft caps, where, yes, they do stipulate that there are, 150 or 250 gigabytes data cap, so you're not supposed to use more than that. That's what they tell you. But depending on your area and how much traffic it has, they might not necessarily enforce it. Like in my area, we do a lot of stuff here for the network. I use a lot of video, and I know I go over that 250 gigabyte data cap that they say that Comcast has, but I've never been called on it.
Yeah. What was that?
Right. Well, I was going to say, let's not focus on whether or not they actually follow through with their unfair services. Let's talk about whether the service that practice is extremely unfair, which it is. First of all, 5 gigabyte cap. Today, I just rebooted my computer. It said I've got a new software update for the operating system. Only 1.5 gigabytes to download.
Yeah. So I mean, one Mac update is what, 750 megs.
Exactly. And the point is, though, this, especially home bandwidth, I would argue for wireless as well, but also for home, the bandwidth cost for these guys is effectively zero, because it's not like water or electricity where you have to pay to produce a physical item, and then once it's used, it has to either be washed again, recycled water, or the electricity just gets dispersed into heat or to pollution or something, and you have to make a new thing. This is just electricity, and it's not even really being used, because the way that electricity gets transferred over bits is just, light and just little electrons bumping into each other down a wire. So you lose a little bit to heat and electricity, but that's what the subscription cost goes towards. Now, so basically, the subscription that you pay for your internet is a maintenance cost of the equipment. It's like the cost to have your computer on and running. Over the years, you'll have to upgrade that computer, but as long as it's just on in a corner using electricity, your marginal usage of that computer is effectively free and unlimited. Sure. That's how the bandwidth is. So for them to turn around to us and claim that it costs $1 per gigabyte, that's the overage fee, by the way, for this new plan. If you agree to a 5 gigabyte cap voluntarily, you're agreeing to a $25 overage fee if you go over 5 gigabytes.
But why would anybody agree to this? That's the strange thing.
Well, and this is what seems really fiendish about this, is they go on
a
blog post and...
Hold on a second.
Sorry?
What was that, Eric?
They go on and on about how this is to help families in need who are making, let's see, I think I actually have some quotes here, families who are making tough economic decisions about what bills and services to cut and what still to afford. So what they're doing is they want to put you in the mindset of thinking that every YouTube video, every Netflix stream, every Skype video call you make is potentially taking money out of the starving mouths of your family.
Yeah.
Because they're putting an incremental cost on something that has no incremental cost.
Well, how about this? I mean, but most people don't understand what gigs are. Nobody knows what 5 gigs are. I mean,
Right.
do you think the average person knows that they use this thing called a gig?
It's not the same as it is for mobile devices, where that's the world it's always been in. And that's something that people do pay attention to on their phones if they're wise about it, and if they've ever gone near their cap, is that they are aware of that. They're not the same. It's not, nobody is aware of that sort of usage when it comes to their home broadband.
Oh, I don't think people are aware of that usage even on mobile. I think people just use things. They don't know what a gigabyte is. They don't know what caps are. I think what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to sign up for this to save that extra $5 a month, and the following month they're going to get a bill for $100 because they cut everything and their kid is downloading YouTube videos. They don't know that YouTube videos is equivalent to using gigabytes.
So to the extent that this kind of cap is being instituted most quickly by the folks like Time Warner, AT&T, and Comcast, who provide full service cable and fiber-based pay TV service and VoIP service and home phone service. So I think clearly this is designed to prevent people from becoming cord cutters.
Yeah, or they
It's
can,
such a crappy plan, though.
yeah. I mean, it is ridiculous. I do want to
We're going to
continue.
give you the lowest amount of data you've ever seen in your life for home broadband usage, only for a $5 discount.
Is it like that for DSL? Is there any caps on DSL or no?
I believe there are.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that. I thought it was only for cable. Thank God we have Fios here because there's no caps with Fios, at least not yet. I do want to continue the discussion, but I have to talk about our sponsor, Hover.com. Domain names made simple. They are simply the best domain registrar, and I'll tell you why they're the best domain registrar. They do everything extremely clean, extremely efficient, and there's no upsell required on their side to kind of get you to buy a domain name. With a lot of these other guys, you go to their website, you click to buy a domain, and they kind of scare you into buying these extra things, like private registration. That's included with Hover, so you don't need to spend an extra $10 a month on private $10 for the domain for private registration. Certified domain, there's really no such thing as a certified domain. It's to make some extra money. And there's a whole bunch of other things. So by the time you're done checking out with those other guys, your domain name is costing you $30 when it should have cost you about $12, $13, $14. With Hover, none of that is included. They don't do any of that. You just go buy the domain. It's very easy and very simple. If you go to gfq.hover.com, you get 10% off your entire purchase, or you could use promo code GFQ upon checkout. They also have web inboxes. You could buy your name or your domain name, and you could get an email service through them, and they make it very easy, and it's a great layout that they have also. And they'll help you out. That's the great part about them. Their customer service is by far the best out of all of them. No hold times. They'll help you out. They told me a story once about how some lady called in thinking it's Hoover vacuums, and they sat down with her for like 35 minutes, and they helped her pick out a vacuum, and they told her, listen, this is the number you got to call. We're not Hoover, we're Hover. So it just shows you. Yeah, it just shows you.
They helped her pick out a vacuum.
They helped her pick out the vacuum. That's how great they are. They're up in Canada. They're nice and friendly people. That's the great part about Hover. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. Thank you, Hover. Yeah, that was one of the funniest stories that I ever heard from them. I was talking to them, and they were like, we have this great team, and they told me an example that this lady called in, totally had no idea what Hover is, had no idea what a domain name is, and she wanted to get a vacuum. And they tried to explain to her like that they're Hover and not Hoover, and she didn't really understand, so they gave up. They helped her pick out the vacuum, and they told her to call the number.
Now, see, the difference is if that were GoDaddy that she called, they would have sold her onto a 30 terabyte a month website, domain hosting, and yeah.
Yeah, I love Hover. They're really, really good to us. I have about 200 domain names with them. And I'm a big domain buyer, and I actually transferred everything from GoDaddy to them. I have a couple left because we're locked in with the service, but very good people over there at Hover. I do want to go into some rumors, and I don't know what to make of this. They're saying that there's two rumors here that I found very interesting. Apple plans to launch a TV streaming service by Christmas. They've been talking about this for a while, that they've been wanting to do this. But what would be different in this TV streaming service than what they're doing with Apple TV currently? Would you know, Eric? I mean, they kind of are a TV streaming service with Google TV. Are they going to add on to Google TV, or I
Google.
don't?
Oh, you mean Apple? You mean Apple?
I mean
TV?
Apple TV. Sorry, Apple TV.
Yeah. Well, I'd say they're not really a TV service yet because all their TV shows are charged based on a la carte pricing. And I think that is a powerful deterrent to prevent people from watching TV and using that. People like to just turn on something and expect it to be free and supported by advertising, at least as far as television shows are concerned. So that may be one of the things that they're doing. But, look at these initiatives from folks like Apple and potentially now from Google as well, and YouTube trying to become a TV network. And again, it becomes very easy to see why folks are like Time Warner want to instigate a 5 gigabyte cap.
Yeah. I mean, this is a perfect example of that.
Make it impossible.
This kind of goes hand in hand with that supposed Apple TV, the actual TV that we've been hearing rumors about. Steve Wozniak came out and said that Apple has, and I don't think Steve knows anything that we don't know at this point, but Steve said Apple has the ability to make a sub-$1,000 Apple TV, and I agree with that. But for $1,000, what are you really going to get? Are you going to get like a 36-inch TV, or are you going to get a 46-inch TV? There's a big difference when you're talking about that.
Knowing Apple, it'll be a 20-inch TV.
But Apple is planning on offering this app-based cable TV style package, which I think is phenomenal. But I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off, and I don't know if the cable companies are going to let go of the networks, the grip that they have on the networks. Because
I don't think they will. Look, the film industry, Hollywood, the MPAA, record industry, cable providers, they're very staunch in holding on to what they have in their old models. They don't like any of this newfangled internet stuff. You mean you can watch TV on the internet on your computer? We don't like that. We want you to watch our stuff.
Yeah, they want you to use their box and sit in front of a TV because, God forbid, you're not sitting like a potato in front of a TV and just paying attention to that. I don't know. I think Apple does have the finances. I think Google has a lot of the connections to do it, and they've been struggling too with this. I'm surprised that Microsoft, out of all of them, has a great deal with the cable companies because you could watch your cable shows. Like I could watch Fios on my Xbox Live. Mm-hmm. Xbox Live has a cable service, has it built in, so I could watch Verizon TV on my Xbox 360. Which that's an interesting way to do it also. Could they go that route and say get a deal with the cable companies? Or do they – I think they want to go a la carte with the networks themselves.
I agree. I don't think they're going to take Microsoft's route because Microsoft wants to sell Xbox hardware. And they know that is a reason to buy an Xbox and do other things with the Xbox, and it sells through Zune Marketplace. It sells Xbox games. There's a whole world of content that gets sold through bringing in even just the existing cable subscribers. I think Apple's business model is different. The Apple TV is not going to be as big of a home media device that is going to be a big profit center hardware-wise as the Xbox is for Microsoft.
A lot of these guys, what they're doing, like Roku and Boxee and Apple TV, a lot of these guys are just this separate entity from the cable. It's for cord cutters really because it doesn't really integrate well with the existing cable companies. Google TV, on the other hand, does this weird integration. It piggybacks off of the cable box with their service. That direction to me is the best way to go in order to sell these devices. Unfortunately, Google TV is not selling too great, and the hardware that it's on is not that great. But it's still like everybody's doing it wrong. They're all missing it. They're all missing that one thing that could elevate this web content, this TV, this platform that all of them want to be on. I don't know what the answer is, though. I really don't. But if Apple goes this route, they can potentially take a lot of share away from the cable companies because it's cheap. The Apple TV is a cheap little box. What is it? It's about $100 for $100, and you could get some network television. I mean, that's not bad. I'm sure you would have to pay a couple bucks to get the services, but it's going the a la carte route. The other rumor is Google is planning a new tablet, a 7-inch tablet, and they might call it the Google Play. Now, this is going based on Google registering a bunch of domain names. It's an awful name, right, Eric?
That's terrible.
Suncast, awful name?
Well, it's funny because if you look at some of the domains that they've registered, one of them is actually googleplaybooks.com.
Yeah, I saw that.
That sounds like BlackBerry Playbook to me. Google Play,
it may not be Google doing
okay,
this.
It
may
not
be
great, but then again, that's
someone
what Google
trying
does.
to fool us, or it could be a completely unrelated company.
Yeah, well, they're saying how this past week Google registered a slew of domain names like Google Play Apps, Google Play Games, and Google Play Books. To me, Play might be a service that they're launching, because if you look at the names, apps on Play, books on Play, games on Play, Google Play apps, Google Play books, Google Play downloads, Google Play games, and the TV on Play, newspaper on Play. I wouldn't think Play is the hardware. I think Play is the service. They might be coming up with a service called Play, and it has everything on there. I don't know. But even down to the rumor that Google is putting out hardware themselves, we heard this rumor about 2 years ago when the Google tablet was supposed to come out, and that never came out either. So I don't even know what to make of this. We haven't seen any hardware. We haven't seen any other signs pointing that Google's going to put one out.
I'll tell you what I hope this is. I hope this is Google trying to really strike fear into the hearts of the monopolistic telecommunications companies like your Verizons and your Comcasts and Time Warners, because look at what they're doing in Kansas, where they have or Kansas City, where they're doing their Google Fiber, pilot program. They're going to be offering, they've applied, I think with the FCC, they've applied with somebody, a government body, to offer pay TV service, just like a Verizon Fios does over their fiber. And so Google's doing that too. If they start offering other services for a subscription price too, like books or games or whatever else might be in that list of registered domains, that could be very interesting. As much as I don't like to say that or don't like to think that the only people who might save us from big corporations are other big corporations, that may actually be what happens. It might take Apple and Google and people with equally large sums of cash, but in a slightly different business, who want to muscle in on the business of the existing telcos, that will get them to that will impose some competition and get them to change their policies.
Yeah, because Google's main source of revenue is ads. They don't make money from services. They make the money from the ads. So they're not really in this service game. They're not in this leasing of lines. And here in New York, it was very difficult for Fios to come in, and Time Warner has a grip in New York City. And it was just this weird game that they had to play with the city. And I mean, competition is a great thing. So they actually said that Time Warner's defense was, we can't compete with what Verizon wants to offer. And if we did offer the speeds that they want to offer, it would bankrupt us. And we would have to raise our rates because we've installed the infrastructure. And Verizon came in, rolled out these fiber lines quickly. They deployed the fiber lines, and I don't see anybody going bankrupt. And you know what? Time Warner is offering really high speeds now.
Yeah, it's
but
an
they
absolute
haven't rolled
lie
it out
anytime that they say that
nationwide
they
either.
can't improve the network.
They're not nearly as big as Time Warner and Comcast are.
Who?
Verizon Fios.
No, Verizon, because guess what? There's a lot of politics that go into play also, where now they've had to stop deployment in certain cities because the city doesn't want them to deploy.
Well, no, you know what they did with Fios? It's even worse than that, Andrew. What they did was they reached an agreement with Comcast, sort of a non-compete laying down of arms, where they said that we will not build out Fios into areas that are served by Comcast. And in exchange, they're going to sell you, Verizon wireless stores are going to sell you Comcast cable, and Comcast cable stores are going to sell you Verizon wireless. That's the agreement they reached instead of competing with one another.
Isn't that nutty?
Those agreements are actually pretty quite common.
Didn't the same thing happen with Time Warner? But now Time Warner is giving them wireless. I think they gave them Spectrum, right?
They bought Spectrum from them.
They bought Spectrum from them. I mean, that's it's so incestuous.
And again,
that's
bad. That's dividing up the market. You had the cable guys, Comcast, and I think Time Warner, some of the cable, incumbent cable providers, owned and squatted on some wireless spectrum that they bought from the government at auction years ago, and they've not built out. They thought they might become a wireless carrier. Instead, they've said, we'll stick to the landline stuff, and Verizon and AT&T, you guys do the wireless stuff, and we'll sell you that, and they're going to trade the wireline, and it's just going to be, ensure that no one ever has any choice but one carrier in any given location. And so what Google might do, the reason that hurts Google is that if you make YouTube pay for usage, every YouTube video costs you incrementally, Google's not going to like that, or every Google search, or every use of the internet in general. Google has always said the more you use the web, the more Google profits. And the one nice thing about that altruistically is that it's not just Google who profits, it's any of their Google competitors. The web is better. Better internet, it makes rising tide all boats, whatever the phrase is. So it's going to be in their interest to perhaps build out networks and competitive internet services where none exist.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I don't know if Google's going to be able to do this. I know they're doing the thing in Kansas City, and have they rolled out the lines?
I really wish they would roll. I really like the way that Verizon Fios and this Google Fiber network is coming along because uh, compared to what most people traditionally have, it's such a superior service.
Yeah, I mean,
For
listen, I have you know what I have? I have 50 by
it's
50.
crazy.
I have
Like,
50 by 50 on one line, and I'm paying $60 a month, and I have 25 by 25 on my second line. I'm paying $40 a month.
and compare that to what most companies like Comcast charge. It's just insane. For me to have anywhere near that speed, I had to pay probably almost triple what you're paying.
Yeah. Well, you know why? Because we have competition here. Verizon
Lucky
has
you.
to offer that speed because when they came into New York City, it was only Time Warner. So they had to grab those people from Time Warner. Listen, in the end, they all end up screwing the consumer in some way. We haven't had any high-def channels added on Verizon Fios for about a year and a half.
Wow.
They stopped. I mean, they did that initial 100 HD channels. Time Warner Cable has added a whole bunch since then, but it's been standing still, and they can't figure out why they haven't added any more channels. I mean, it's wacky, but I don't know. It's a whole separate discussion. But it is time for picks of the week, guys. Let's see who I'll go to first. Eric, I'm going to go to you first, and I'll go last because Suncast has to go before me because I need to switch the video. So, Eric, what is your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is Make MKV, a DVD, or rather a Blu-ray ripping tool for Mac and Windows. You can get it at makemkv.com. It's free because it's in beta, and then afterwards it's $50 to purchase, but I'll tell you how you can actually get it for free as long as it's in beta. It involves a little bit of a workaround. But what MKV does, or Make MKV, you've seen these online, .mkv files. It's an open source container format that is very much preferred and playable by certain media players like VLC. So if you're on a Mac, you're probably familiar that you cannot put in a Blu-ray disc and actually play the Blu-ray film because Apple never made a deal with those guys that provide the actual decoder hardware and license for that. So a couple years ago, I bought a Blu-ray, a BD-ROM, and put it in my Mac Pro. I think actually I had it as a USB external hooked up to my laptop for a while, and then I plunked it into the tower when I got that a couple years later. But I can't play them on the Mac. I'd have to dual boot to Windows. Well, not after having Make MKV, because you put in the Blu-ray disc, one that you purchase or rent legally, and the way that you play it is you rip it. You can choose your not chapters, but you can choose the video files and the streams. So if it's episodic, you can choose which episodes, you can choose which audio tracks, which extras, eliminate certain things so you can save space on your hard drive. You rip it to there, and then play it in the latest version of VLC, and it's full quality. It's full frame rate. There's no problems. Any audio codec, any video codec. VLC is improved as MKV has. Make MKV. Sorry, I keep saying that wrong. And so it's a great way to watch Blu-ray on the Mac. And then if you want to, put that then onto an iPod or move it off to some other viewing mechanism for yourself, transcode it. Often those MKV files with the HD video streams can be done that way too. So the key is, after 30 days of the trial, this beta software of Make MKV will start bugging you that it's expired and you have to either download a new version or, if the new version isn't out yet, pay up. But not if you Google the phrase, Make MKV is free during beta period or something like that, beta registration key. Because the developer in their own forums at makemkv.com updates has a sticky post for the registration code that keeps this free as long as it's in beta. So you don't have to pay $50. The developer is giving it for free, but you have to work a little bit to find that free code. Just Google it. So that's makemkv.com.
Oh, very cool, actually.
I've used that program before, and I really like it because it's so simple to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never used it, and I actually like it a lot, and I gotta play around with it. Suncast, what is your pick?
All right, so my pick is a website called Knowem.com. I'll spell it out for you real quick. KNOWEM. It's Knowem.com. What they do is that they allow you to search hundreds of sites. I'll go over and switch it to you. And you can see that you can search like almost 600 social networks, tons of domains. Basically, anywhere you want to know where your name is used or isn't used, you can easily find out. It has tons of sites. So I'll go ahead and plug my name in here and check it out. And we can see where my username is registered at. So I already have it at MySpace, Dig, It's available at Delicious. It's pretty cool how it gives you all sorts of different information here. It separates it into tabs, so you can see right now it's selected at most popular, but you could also see just the social networks. See maybe what social networks you might want to sign up, or what social networks your name is already taken on, or what you've already used before.
So
It's
this would be
pretty cool.
this would be great for anybody that's kind of in the, let's say someone like Eric that's a internet celebrity, because he's a huge internet celebrity, and we have a contract actually on how many times he could appear on the network, but I'm not going to get into that. But let's say someone like Eric that wants to protect his online real estate, he could go to some site like this and buy up. You not buy up, but go and register to all the sites, because there are wacky people out there that might do some wacky stuff with your name.
Right. And they even take this a little bit step further. I'll go ahead and switch my camera back for you, and you can actually see that they actually have plans here where you can pay them a fee and they'll actually register your name and your information with these websites. They start out at $64.95. That's their essential plan. And their highest plan, what that does is you get, 25 most essential popular social media websites. But it can also go all the way up to $600 for the enterprise plan, which they let you sign up automatically for 300 websites. It's pretty cool. I like it. Even just for checking out if you want to know where your name is used, just for that purpose alone, it's pretty cool. That's knowem.com, KNOWEM.
Oh, very nice, Suncast. Now, my pick, let me see if I could switch here. Let's see if this is going to work. I have to, the screen is black. Suncast is on my screen now. I'm looking at him. Hi, Suncast. Can you
Hello.
guys see him? Look at this. There he is. Look at that. Right over there. And now I got to switch here. This is
It's the mini Suncast.
well, it's not
Suncast
working.
Mini.
It's not working, actually. But Suncast, maybe you could pull this up. My pick actually is Windows 8. It's a very easy pick. The reason why I'm doing that is because it's free, and it's free. The beta is free till, I believe, next June for Windows 8. So anybody pretty much could go and get Windows 8 and use it till next June. But I think it's a really cool environment to kind of learn the new service. And it's 2013. Yeah, June 2013. And it's amazing that they're offering this for free to everybody to use, to get used to try it out. If you have a Windows tablet, you can pretty much install it on a Windows tablet, which you'll get the whole tablet environment. Or you can, you could even install it on laptops, netbooks. I know some netbooks are not qualified under like the full support, but you can install it pretty much everywhere and play around with it. And you let us know what you think, because some people like it and some people don't, and we want to know what you think of it. Sunkist, I wish I could switch over to you, but I can't because I broke this.
Now I hear some users are complaining about 4-corner pixels in the hot corners.
I heard that is the biggest problem that they have, actually, is the hot corner and the four pixels per corner. But
I heard it's pretty bad if you have a multi-monitor setup.
yeah, it's awful. But what is the site that they could go to, Suncast? Because you have it right there, and it's very easy. They have 32-bit, 64-bit, all different languages are supported with Windows 8. And you know what? I don't hate it, guys. I really don't. I don't think it's awful. I think it's a new experience that we have to get used to. So we have to keep an open mind when we're playing around with this. We have to keep and we have to put into consideration that it is a beta and things are not going to be seamless yet.
Praise for Windows 8 around the web. Andrew Zarian says, "I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually."
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I'll get used to it. It's like Stockholm syndrome, you know? You're captive. You fall in love with your captive after a while. Listen, I've said it all along. You could always go to Linux. You want all the control you could get all the control you want with Linux if you don't like it. Or you could go to a Mac. Listen, I'm happy with my MacBook. I like it.
Well, Apple's pissing everyone off too. Certainly pissing off me. Things about Lion and Mountain Lion I don't like. So yeah, I hope there is some kind of Linux-based blowback to all this.
I think this is what we have to do, guys. I think we have to hire a developer because I don't think any of us know code. We need to put in some money, maybe $30, hire a developer, and we can make our own operating system with all the pixels in the corners that Suncast could need. We could have 15 pixels per corner, Suncast, if you really want to.
No corners at all.
No corners.
It's infinite space.
Infinite. It just goes on and on and on.
We're
could
going
that.
to do this newfangled interface that is just a circle.
It's just
we
a
have
giant
to
circle.
create these new monitors that are all oval shaped.
Yeah.
It looked more than it looked like in the 1950s and 60s, like the old like the mission control.
Yeah,
It had
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
circular CRT. Yeah.
That's what we could do. But guys, it was a really fun show. I had a lot of fun today. And guys, send us your emails because we want to hear what you think of Windows 8 and anything else that we discuss here on the show. We really like it, and we always use your emails. The email, one of the topics that we were talking was from an emailer, and he had a lot of great points in the email. You can send us an email at guysfromqueens.com, guysfromqueens@gmail.com. You could contact Eric on Twitter or on his website. You go to ericlanigan.com. You can find Eric there. You can follow him on Twitter at Eric Lanigan. You can follow Suncast at Suncast on Twitter. Also, his website, Amadeus, AMADAIS.com. If you're a up-and-coming artist, if you know any up-and-coming artists, or if you know anybody doing cover songs on YouTube, send it to Suncast because it's a great site and he features a lot of these up-and-coming singers, and God knows they need all the promotion they could get. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Andrew Zarian on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook, Facebook, Google+, pretty much everywhere you can imagine. And you can follow the network at Guys From Queens on, GFQ Network on Twitter, and Guys From Queens on Facebook. Stay tuned. Up next, Behind the Counter, the comic book show. The guys are here hanging out. I don't know what they're doing. What are you guys doing there? What? Nothing. Are you drinking? Oh, okay. They're sober today, guys. That's good. They're sober. And we'll see you all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.